And Maddie asks, based on what you've shared about IFS, I imagine that any personality disorder is reversible, even antisocial personality disorder, which is commonly deemed incurable. Have you found that to be true? Does it require healthy relationships outside of therapy?
Well, there's two questions there. I'll answer the first one first. So, yes, the answer is yes. So, as I was working this model in the early days, I consider myself a scientist. So I was really trying to test how potent it was. And I saw that it could work for this bulimic population of kids with bulimia. But I didn't know how it would work with other kinds of clients. And so for about 20 years, I actively recruited the toughest cases I could find. And so I wound up doing a lot of work with what people would call, if you like the DSM, borderline personality and DID and so on and so on. And yes, you need to adapt, and it's different with those clients, and including the clients that get written off so much, like the one she mentioned. And yeah, their protectors are strong, and their protectors often take longer to give permission, and you often have to do what I call direct access more, where I would say, let me talk to that part directly rather than have the self, because with a lot of those clients, their protectors aren't going to let them access self for quite a while. And for good reasons, that these protectors are very suspicious of people, including therapists, and particularly men a lot of the time. So I would have to earn their trust. And so I would just spend lots of time doing direct access with protectors, trying to form trusting relationships with them. And then at some point ask if they'd be willing to open space inside. And when they were, it was the same damn self that would pop out in them as popped out in everybody else, which is what began to convince me that itself is universal and it's not, attachment based. And so as part of all of that exploration, I consulted to a treatment center for sex offenders for 3 years and did a lot of work with young men and teenagers who had done these horrible things to kids and also had raped women. And so that was a real test. If I go to these parts, are even those parts not bad? And turns out that's true, because each of them would share their secret histories of how they got forced into the roles they were in and how they carried the perpetrator's energy to protect the system from the perpetrator, and how they had this, as a result, desire to hurt vulnerability, which would team up with their sexual parts. So that convinced me that there are no bad parts, which is the title of my latest book. And that people with these heavy duty diagnoses that our field writes off are just, their protectors are just more intense. But if offered the chance, there are no protectors that don't want out of their jobs if they think it's safe.
It truly tests compassion.
Indeed, yeah.
Yeah.
And as you can see, I'm not a fan of the DSM.
Mm-hmm.
Me, it's a fairly accurate description of clusters of protectors. That's all it is.
Mm-hmm.